Hello, everyone. My name is Dawn, and welcome to another episode of The Chamber Within. We often talk about spiritual principles, spiritual lessons, and speak about metaphors of how to better get through this life, the different ways of readjusting our perceptions in order to deal. But my question to you all this week is, how do you know when you've embodied something? When you have moved beyond conjecture and into a lived experience of realization? For instance, you can understand forgiveness without embodying forgiveness. Emotionally, you may not be ready to forgive someone, and that's perfectly fine. If you deem it necessary, it will come in time, if it's useful to you, but it will be in an authentic way in which you can come to an understanding of true forgiveness. You can know about boundaries while still abandoning yourself. You can understand the principle of self-respect and understand the detriment of denying yourself the awesome feeling of speaking your truth to someone. But until you practice it in real time, you won't know the joy of living life your way with your boundaries. You can talk about peace while constantly reacting. You may be reaching for it and can feel knocked out of balance because of an undesired experience. This may cause you to be in an emotional state that can make you feel as though peace is fleeting. Until you know how to be peaceful wherever you stand, especially in the eye of the storm, this is just an abstract idea. And finally, you can preach love while secretly living in fear. Fear of your neighbor because they look different than you. Fear of what others may think if you accept someone by loving them instead of hating them, so on and so forth. Embodiment is where wisdom becomes behavior. Also, feeling it in the body, a stillness of knowing a lesson through experience. One personal knowing I'd like to share is a practice I'm constantly working on, and that's alignment to things I'd like to have or see in my life. I've tried many times and have failed, and then begin to successfully and slowly see how alignment actually works. I have had a magical and interesting past week. Now, I'll preface this by saying that the spiritual books I have read in the past by Paul Selig, Abraham Hicks, and a number of others often speak to the malleable fabric of reality that we live in. How reality is a reflection of our consciousness, meaning the sum of what we believe, what we say to ourselves, and of course, what we expect to receive in our daily lives. And for me, this past week was that kind of experience where things worked out just by me knowing that it will, foregoing doubt and the expectation of negative outcomes, which creeps up, but I keep pressing on. I do. So, one really small instance is I lost my keys at work, and it's obviously important to have my keys as a retail manager because they serve multiple purposes, as you can imagine. Opening the store, accessing offices, you get it. I was looking for my keys almost in a rushed manner. I don't lose them. I don't ever lose them. But so this was a first. Um, Not having them on my person made me feel, this great anxiety and sense of urgency that was slowly turning into a panic. I had an hour left of work and thought to myself, instead of thinking, oh, I'm not going to have keys to open tomorrow or when I get back here and all these other things that tend to spiral out of control as negative thoughts do, I thought, I'll try something I had once before. I heard that if you lose something, you can ask that it be returned by saying thank you. Like if you lose something in your car, you can say to the car, thank you for showing me where this is. And I know this sounds crazy, but hear me out. Bear with me for just one moment. If you lose something in your home, you can say, thank you for allowing me to find it. And because this is a way to trick the mind into a different expectation, you change the outcome from fear into gratitude. And so I did exactly that. I got ahead of it. Instead of expecting I'll never find these keys, I stood in my stockroom all alone and thanked it, the stockroom, for revealing to me where my keys were. And in my defense, I had to try something because this fear was not working. Well, it was working, just not in my favor. I decided to act as if, like Neville Goddard has written in his books many times. I decided to continue to do my paperwork for the day as I wrapped up as normal, as if I had my keys. Then I got the urge to walk out of my stockroom and into the main office. Now, as I walked up there, I didn't see it. I checked again. I was like, I'm trying to relax and I'm still grateful. I walked into the break room and suddenly I just did a 180 and my eyes landed across the hall on a doorknob to where my keys were dangling right above it. I had left them in the door across the hall from the break room on the other side of the building of where my stockroom was. Needless to say, I was very happy, but it was interesting how my eyes went to that specific spot. 5 minutes, if that, after I was in my stockroom and said, "Thank you for showing me where it is." It worked again. The first time, I can't remember what I was looking for, but I tried it at home. And so that's what made me think to try it now. I'd rather have this practice in my back pocket than panic and worry and expectation of me never finding them again. It allowed me, this expectation, to calm down and align to the having of my keys. What's so funny is that I expected them to be in a different part of the store than they were, but me saying thank you led me to where they were. I don't know the mechanics of it, but I got my keys back. This worked. Now, again, the same week, I had a financial experience where I thought I was not going to have enough money to do what was needed. I doubted this outcome because of my calculations that I would, again, be in some distress because I didn't have the money. So I just leaned into the practice of gratitude, trusted that my reality is just as malleable as it was when I was looking for keys. What's the difference between keys and money? Just like Abraham Hicks used to say, there's no difference between a button and a mansion, which when you say it out loud, it's like, yeah, there is. A button is pocket change and a mansion is millions of dollars. But that limitation is in our mind. So we put it out of reach for ourselves. So again, I leaned into the practice of gratitude and trusted that my reality is just as malleable. And when I was thinking to myself that I was grateful for things working out, I was like, I know I have it. I have it. I have it. I have it. Regardless of my worries, I just kept saying, I have. And as it turns out, I did have it. It's a weird feeling of gratitude and knowing, because knowing means it's already done. So there's no surprise of like, wow, it actually worked, because being grateful puts in your body as if it is already there. I hope I'm being clear. It's a reality I felt before it occurred. So I also feel like saying, of course, this is duh. Like I feel like saying that, but I'm 50-50 on it. I feel like this is amazing, but of course this happened because I already put myself here. I got ahead of the outcome by being grateful for it, secretly hoping how we get here. It's a weird mind trick, but I'm trying to explain that if I already felt grateful, then of course I'm having this outcome. It's it's a weird feeling of um, time, right? Because I'm putting myself outside of a timeline of before and after. I'm in the after already. And so seeing it being materialized is a wonder, but feeling it in the body is like, I've been here before because I already said thank you for it. Be still and know. So these are the smaller moments of experiences that have strengthened my ability to trust the outcomes in my life. Not only that, but I am the curator of my experience, not just the avatar, but the one accessing the buttons. I pull up my emotional menu and choose. We're always choosing. I choose this path, and so I see this outcome. No, excuse me. I choose this outcome, and so it aligns to me. This path is more like it. I choose the outcome, and so it aligns. In retrospect, I see that trust was the lesson I had embodied this week. It was the only thing I had to cling to. Trust. I've mentioned this somewhere before, but it's like the Billie Jean video where uh, each step is lit up as you're stepping along the path. And that's the trust, trusting the path before me. Many of us think that the only way to make a decision is to fully map out an expectation of the goal, the timing, the destination, knowing all the possible pitfalls ahead and setbacks. But in truth, we have a limited view. We can actually cut ourselves off from the outcomes of the unforeseen, restricting ourselves from expecting a miracle by self imposing a limitation on our lives. What if things work out is a great question to have in our back pocket as a way to begin bridging the gap between knowing and the great and unpredictable unknown. I had a blast this week, and I learned that when fear creeps up, we have to allow trust to enter the room. So, my question to you this week is, how do you know when you've moved beyond simply understanding a lesson intellectually and have moved into the knowing that only a lived experience can bring? When has an idea stopped being something you believe and become something you naturally are? You can email me at thechamberwithin@yahoo.com. You can also leave me a voice message at speakpipe.com/thechambervoiceline. I would love to hear about it. Thank you for joining me this week, and I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.